Hey everyone, and welcome back to ChapterChatters. So, I've got a question for you. What happens after the horror movie ends? What happens to the final girl? Well, that is the concept that goes on in this book by Grady Hendrix, which is the Final Girl Support Group. And this is actually one of my most interesting reads for horror slashers today. And something one I've read for in a while. So, this book basically follows a group of women who have all survived the brutal massacres of their friends, family, co-workers years earlier, and now they are all together, bonded by this trauma, trying to talk it through, because who else is going to understand them? Who else is going to properly know what they've been through besides others like them? And so they all deal with the trauma and the paranoia of the events that have come from surviving everything that's gone to them. And then it starts to change. And someone begins targeting the final girls. Now, this primarily follows the main character, who is basically someone who's completely paranoid. And it goes through their journey to all of it with everyone else in the group. And what I found interesting about this story is that it's just not like a normal slasher novel. You never guess who it is. But it also goes through how about exploring the trauma, survival, the paranoia of it all. But also what happens when someone has become defined by that worst thing that's ever happened to them. And you can actually feel the influence of the classic horror movies throughout this book. And I am talking about the slasher vibes from Friday the 13th, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer. Any of those sort of classic slasher films, you will get a sense from reading this book, and it picks up a lot of inspiration from it. The pacing is also very strong. It's very continuous. It's very chaotic. You never know what's going to happen from 1 minute to the next. And once the story gets going, very barely does it slow down, and there were several moments that I found that just made me gasp. I just did not know what was going on, and I don't know I don't know who to trust. I don't know who. Just like in normal slasher film, you do not know who to trust, and that is perfect for this sort of book. Now, what I can say though is it does get a bit chaotic, and that's because not only we've got the main group, you've got other characters involved as well. And while they probably were necessary, it could have done without. And there's a lot of emphasis being thrown around way too quickly. But honestly, if you actually enjoy the horror stories and the slasher style tension, it probably won't bother you too much. It didn't actually bother me at all. I still enjoyed it, even with everything that's going on. It still kept me hooked, which is what I love about books, especially this sort of stuff. And what really made it stand out is it was like a love letter. It wasn't like it was still telling its own story. It still kept its own, but it's still a love letter to the classics. Now, if you enjoy the slasher horrors, the psychological thrillers, the fast-paced books, or anything that plays that horror tropes in a clever way, which this definitely does, it's definitely one worth checking out. And I tell you what, let me know in the comments who is your ultimate final girl. And until next time, don't feel alone.